Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you, my students? I hope that you're happy and healthy and ready for today's lesson, which is Unit 4, Speaking. But before we do that, let's open our workbooks here, page 114. Now, open your workbooks, page 114 to exercise G. Exercise G here. So exercise G, imagine you were in these situations. So we have some situations here. Answer the questions using hypothetical conditionals or past hypothetical conditionals. So we have two done here. So you are at the mall, you see your four-year brother take a small toy and put it in his pocket. What would you do? You are at the mall, you see your little brother, who is 4 years old, take a small toy and put it in his pocket. What would you do? So the answer, I would take him aside and explain to him why it is wrong and make him put it back. So this is the correct thing, the ethical, the moral thing to do. You stayed up all night playing video games. The next day, you took an English test and failed it. What would your mother have said if she had found out why you did poorly on the test? So if she found out the truth that you didn't study, you just played video games, what would she say? So if you hadn't stayed up all night playing video games, you wouldn't have failed your English test. So this is what the mother would have said. She would have said what? If you hadn't stayed up all night playing video games, you wouldn't have failed your English test. So let's take number one now. Your parents bought you a new cell phone. You're really excited and decided to show it to your friends. As you're going to meet your friends, the cell phone falls out of your backpack into a busy street. A car runs over it and smashes it into pieces. What could you have done differently? What could you have done differently? So your parents bought you a new cell phone. You're excited to show it to your friends. So you want to show it to your friends. As you're going to meet your friends, the cell phone falls out of your backpack. So you're wearing a backpack into a busy street with lots of cars. A car runs over it and smashes it into pieces. So what do you think that you could have done differently to prevent your phone from this, from being run over by a car? So what would you have done differently? You can answer with, of course, this would be hypothetical because in the real world, your phone is broken now. So what would you have done? So let's see. Of course, there's no right or wrong answer as long as you answer it using a hypothetical conditionals or past hypothetical conditionals. So I would have put the phone in my pocket, and the if clause is implied, of course. I would have put the phone in my pocket. So instead of putting the phone in my backpack, I would have put the phone in my pocket. So, and the if clause here is implied because we know what the if clause would be. So, I would have put the phone in my pocket. Number two, what would your parents have said once they found out about the cell phone? What would your parents have said once they found out about the cell phone? So, what do you think the answer here would be? If they found out about the cell phone, so the correct answer here, they would have said that it's okay. Maybe they'll buy you another one as long as you are safe. So, they would have said that it's okay. And also the if clause here is implied. But if you want to write it, you would say, if my parents find out about the cell phone, they would have said that it's okay. So number three, you are eating dinner at a nice restaurant. When it's time to pay, you realize you don't have your wallet with you. What would you do? You're eating dinner at a nice restaurant Of course, nice restaurant, it means it's a little bit expensive here. When it's time to pay, you realize you don't have your wallet with you. What would you do? So when you wanted to pay, you realize that you don't have your wallet, you forgot it at home, for example. What would you do in this situation? So let's see one of the correct answers here. I would have called my friend to come and pay, then I pay him later. So I would have called my friend to come and pay, then I pay him. I will pay him later. And also here the if clause is implied, because you say if I forgot my wallet when I'm at a restaurant, I would have called my friend to come and pay. Number 4, you're shopping in the mall, you accidentally knock over a glass and it breaks. Nobody saw you. What would you do? So you're shopping in the mall, you're walking, and you accidentally knock over a glass. And when the glass fell down on the floor, it breaks. And nobody saw you do it. No one noticed. What would you do? Nobody noticed that you broke the glass. So would you walk away or go tell the owner of the shop of what you did? So, of course, all of us would take the ethical way. I would have told the owner and pay for the damage. If I accidentally knock over a glass and it broke, I would have told the owner and pay for the damage. Of course, this is the moral, the right thing to do. Number 5, you are shopping in the mall. You accidentally knock over a glass and it breaks. You don't think anybody saw you do it, so you walk away. As you are leaving, a security guard stops you and makes you pay for the damages. If you had it do over, what would you have done differently? So this is another situation almost the same as the first one. This one, you knock over a glass, you noticed no one saw you, you think no one saw you, so you walk away. This is unethical, of course. As you are leaving, a security guard stops you and makes you pay for the damages. So you thought no one saw you, but in reality, the security guard did. If you had it to do over, what would you have done differently? So you thought no one saw you, but the security guard saw you. As you were leaving, he came to you and say you have to pay for this. If you had to do it all over again, would you have done something differently or not? So let's check what I've written here. I would have told the owner and pay for the damage. Same answer as the previous one. If you had to do it all over again, what would you have done differently? I wouldn't walk away. Of course, I wouldn't walk away. I would have told the owner and pay for the damage, pay for the broken glass. Number 6 here, you're taking a test in chemistry class. You studied hard for it. You know your best friend didn't study at all because he stayed up late last night watching television. You see him cheating on the test. What would you do? What would you do? So while taking a test, you notice your friend is cheating. What would you do? Will you tell on him or tell the teacher, blow the whistle, if you remember? So we have different answers. I would have done nothing, but after the exam, I would have told him it's wrong to cheat and maybe make him go to confess to the teacher. Maybe he'll give him a second chance. So while taking the test, I would have done nothing, but after the exam, I would have told him it's wrong to cheat and maybe make him go and confess what he did wrong to the teacher. Number 7, you're walking out of the mall and you see a small pile of money. You pick it up and count it. There's over 50 riyals. There are a lot of people around, but you don't think anybody saw you pick it up. You see a woman near the entrance of the mall checking her pockets and looking nervous. So it looks like that she lost her money. But you aren't sure if the money belongs to her. What would you do? What would you do? So you saw 50 riyals and there's a woman, she looks like she lost something, but you're not sure if the money belongs to her. What would you do? So, for example, here I said, I would have asked her if she has lost anything. So I would have asked her if she has lost something. Maybe then she will answer me, yes, I lost money. That's why I wouldn't say immediately, did you lose your money? The correct thing to do is I would have asked her if she has lost something. Then she will say, yes, I lost my money or my car keys if I'm wrong, and so on. Number 8, your brother is the best player on the school football team. Your parents are very strict. If he doesn't get an A in every class, he's not allowed to play football. He has football practice every night, so you know he is very busy. He asks you to do his homework every day before class. What would you do? What would you do? Would you do his homework for him, or would you advise him to study hard and so on? And your parents are strict with him. So I said I would have told him to study harder and achieve his goals by himself. I would have told him to study harder, to work harder, and achieve his goals all by himself. Moving on to exercise H here for the reading, page 115. Read the article, then answer the questions. Kohlberg's theory of moral reasoning. So let's listen to the article together. Then we will be answering some questions about the article. Let's listen.
Kohlberg's theory of moral reasoning. A moral dilemma is a big problem or quandary that will have both positive and negative outcomes no matter what decision is made. Kohlberg's theory of moral reasoning describes the development that people go through when making moral decisions. It has 6 sequential stages, meaning that they go in order, and that no stage is ever skipped. Kohlberg's theory is based on his research, which consisted of presenting the following Heinz dilemma to his subjects and having them make a decision about what they would do. A woman was near death from a special kind of cancer. There was one drug that the doctors thought might save her. It was a form of radium that a druggist in the same town had recently discovered. The drug was expensive to make, but the druggist was charging 10 times what the drug cost him to produce. He paid $200 for the radium and charged $2,000 for a small dose of the drug. The sick woman's husband, Heinz, went to everyone he knew to borrow the money, but he could only get together about $1,000, which was half of what it cost. He told the druggist that his wife was dying and asked him to sell it cheaper or let him pay later. But the druggist said, "No, I discovered the drug and I'm going to make money from it." So Heinz got desperate and broke into the man's store to steal the drug for his wife. Should Heinz have broken into the laboratory to steal the drug for his wife? Why or why not? In order to determine which stage of moral reasoning each person was in, Kohlberg would focus on how they supported the decision they made, rather than the decision itself. The stages are as follows. Stage 1, obedience. In this stage, the focus is on avoiding punishment. The rules for right and wrong are determined by parents and teachers. Example answer, he should not steal the medicine, because he will go to jail. Stage 2, self-interest. Subjects concentrate on their own needs and occasionally the needs of others. Fairness is present, but decisions are made based upon their own desires. Example answer, Heinz should steal the medicine, because he will be happier if he saves his wife, even if he has to go to jail. Stage 3, conformity. People in this stage will emphasize being nice or good to gain approval from others. Example answer, Heinz should steal the medicine because he wants to be a good husband. Stage 4, social systems. People in this stage define right and wrong by doing one's duty to society. They are concerned with showing respect for authority and maintaining social order for its own sake. Example answer: Heinz should steal the drug for his wife but also be punished for the crime. He should also pay the druggist what he is owed. Stage 5, human rights. In this stage, subjects are concerned with human rights. They try to define moral values apart from the authority of the group. Example answer: Heinz should steal the medicine because everyone has a right to choose life, regardless of the law. Stage 6, universal human ethics. In the final stage of moral development, subjects follow self-chosen ethical principles that are valid and applied universally. Example answer: Heinz should steal the medicine, because saving a human life is a more important value than the property rights of another person.
Exercise A here, exercise I, page 116. Read Carl's dilemma. So we have a dilemma here, and answer the questions. So we'll be reading about Carl's dilemma, then we'll be answering some questions about the dilemma that he is in. So let's listen.
Carl was studying as his younger brother Sid played nearby. He had promised to keep an eye on his brother until their parents came back. Suddenly, the phone rang. It was Mitch, Carl's best friend. Mitch wanted to come over and show Carl a new gadget that he had just bought. Carl looked at the time. He would have to get his brother ready for bed. This was all his idea. He had suggested that they stop using a babysitter as he could look after Sid. As expected, their father suggested that Carl get an additional allowance for his help. Their parents were not due back for at least an hour. He needed about 20 minutes to feed Sid and then put him to bed, so that would probably leave another half hour if he didn't read a story to him. But without a story, Sid would probably refuse to go to sleep. He could, of course, give him that model car that he liked so much. It had small parts and it wasn't supposed to be safe, but Sid was very careful with things like that. A prized model car for a story, was it a good deal? But he did want to see Mitch's new remote control for his game console. He was interested in using his extra allowance to buy one himself. He decided to give the car to Sid. By the time he made up his mind, Mitch had arrived. Carl realized that he hadn't fed his brother. He asked Mitch to wait, went into the kitchen and warmed up some milk. He put some cookies on a plate and gave them to Sid. Sid took one sip of milk, dropped the cup on the carpet, and started crying. The milk was too hot. Mitch suggested they give Sid some ice cream to soothe him. So Sid had ice cream for dinner, and the model car. All was well. When their parents returned, they found Mitch and Carl playing. They knew Mitch and were happy to see that Carl had company. They asked him if he'd fed Sid and put him to sleep. Carl said he had. All of a sudden, they heard a choking sound from Sid's room and ran upstairs. Sid was sitting on his bed hanging onto the model car, choking on a part he had pulled off. "Sid," said the mother. "It's all right, hang on. Why did you take Carl's car? I've told you not to."
So now that we have listened to the dilemma about Sid and his brother Carl, number one, what did the mother assume? What did she assume, the mother? What did she assume? So the answer is she assumed that Sid had taken the car without telling Carl. So she assumed that Sid had taken the car without telling Carl, but we know that Carl gave him the car. Number two, what was Carl's dilemma at the point? What was his dilemma at that point? So, of course, whether he should tell his mother that he had given the model car to Sid himself. Number three, did Carl betray his parents' confidence in him? Why or why not? So this is, of course, according to your own opinion. He did, of course, betray their confidence, but it's partly. He kept an eye on Sid and tried to feed him and then put him to bed, but was not prepared to take time needed. So he gave Sid a model car with small parts just to make him happy, to keep him happy, so he could play with his friend. So yeah, that's why I said he did betray, but partly. Did he betray his younger brother? Why or why not? I said here, in Sid's eyes, in his own opinion, he probably didn't, because he had given him the car, because his brother wanted the car, so that's why he gave it to him. In his eyes, in Sid's eyes, he probably didn't, because he had given him the car. So here, exercise B, the part B, read the story again and make notes on each event and its effects. We have three. You have to put 3 events or cause, then the outcome. What would you have done? Do you think Carl made the right decision? If you don't agree, what do you think he should or shouldn't have done? Why or why not? So we have to listen to the story again, read it again. Then now we will complete this chart. You can notice the first one is already done for you. Number 1, the event, the phone rang, and the outcome, Carl wanted to see his friend's new gadget. So he told him, I got a new gadget. So number 2, what's the second event? And tell me the outcome or the effect it had. So number 2, gave Sid milk, for example. He gave Sid milk. So what's the outcome? What happened later? Yes, Sid dropped the cup on the carpet and started crying. What about a third event? For example, Carl gave Sid ice cream and the model car. Just to make him stop crying, he gave him ice cream and gave him the model car. What's the outcome? What's the effect of that happening? What happened? Yes, Sid choked on a small part. Jumping to today's lesson, the objective, decide whether to take genetic testing or not. Fill the chart about genetic testing. Work in pairs or groups. Think about what you have read and heard about genetic testing and discuss the question below. If you were offered genetic testing, would you do it? Why or why not? If you were offered to do genetic testing, would you do it? Why or why not? So discuss this with your colleagues and make notes here, this chart. Type of genetic testing you read or heard about, write it here. Reason for taking the test. If you want to take the test, give us a reason. If you don't want to take the test, reasons against taking the test, write it here. Should it be made available to everyone? Why or why not? Put it here. So write 3 types of genetic testing that you read or heard about. And here's a fun fact for you. People have always found it hard to make decisions. Here are some quotes about the subject. We can avoid making choices by doing nothing, but even that is a decision. A wise man makes his own decisions. An ignorant man follows public opinion. Be willing to make decisions. That's the most important quality in a good leader, making decisions. Here is additional activity. What if would you do? So what would you do? What would you do if your brother, best friend, asked you to copy your homework? What would you do if your parents forbid you to play a certain video game, but you know your friend has it in his house? So all of these are hypothetical questions. What would you do if things happen? So read the questions and answer it with your colleagues and check out your answers together. And with that, we reach the end of this lesson. See you next lesson, inshallah. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum.